Have you ever been cooking, maybe, trying out a brand new recipe, and you made a mistake that turned out to be an absolute masterpiece?
Oh, I love that.
Right. Like you leave a pan on the stove just a few seconds too long, the sugar caramelizes a bit too much, and suddenly magic.
Exactly, a beautiful accident.
Today, we are taking that exact idea of, well, accidental genius, and applying it to your English journey as we dive into your Academia BSB class notes.
It is such a brilliant way to frame the learning process, really.
I'm Teacher Paula, by the way.
And I am Teacher Reichel, and we are just so thrilled to be sitting down with you today.
We really are. We're looking specifically at Group T262, the English Conversations course from March 2nd, 2026.
Yes, and as adult Brazilian women mastering the English language remotely through the Academia BSB platform, you already know that learning is an active, sometimes messy process.
Oh, definitely messy.
The goal of this school, and our goal today, is to provide that warm, supportive environment for you to learn, thrive, and realize that your mistakes are just ingredients for fluency.
That is perfectly said. Today's deep dive is just packed with flavor. We have so much to cover.
We really do. We are going to explore how kitchen vocabulary perfectly describes human behavior.
Which is fascinating. We are also going to tackle the physical mechanics of some incredibly tricky English pronunciations, role-play practical phrases, and untack the physical metaphors behind romantic idioms.
And of course, we are finishing up with a literal dessert.
Yes, a mouth-watering reading comprehension about creme brulee.
It is a beautifully structured lesson. What really stands out in the first portion of your class notes is this clever blending of the kitchen with human behavior.
Right, the vocabulary section for the current class.
Exactly. The notes provide a list of cooking verbs. To heat, to harden, to cool off, to pour, to fry, to boil.
Oh, and don't forget to baked.
Yes, the notes specifically capture that past tense ed ending as to baked, just as you encountered it. And finally, to burn.
It is so interesting how we use the physical states of matter in the kitchen to describe how we feel.
It really is.
Like, when you accidentally burn that dinner, you don't just make a mistake. You might literally boil over with frustration.
That is a great example. The class material actually asks you to connect these cooking verbs with neutral personality traits.
Like quiet and reserved.
Right, along with competitive, sensitive, cautious, curious, practical, and straightforward.
And the connection makes so much psychological sense,
It does. Think about a competitive person, someone driven to win. They bring high energy to a situation, effectively acting to heat things up.
They might even fry the competition.
Exactly. And on the opposite end, consider someone who is cautious, meaning they are careful to avoid risks.
So if a situation gets too tense, they're the ones who want things to cool off.
Precisely. They wait for the emotional temperature to drop before stepping in.
That makes perfect sense. And the notes actually give us a whole new layer of synonyms to deepen this.
They do, yes.
They map diligent to straightforward, courageous to brave, and disciplined to hard worker.
Which is very helpful for a CE FRL A2 level.
Absolutely. If we apply those kitchen metaphors, a straightforward or diligent person is someone who just wants to pour out the truth.
No filter, no complicated recipes.
Exactly, just pouring the reality of the situation straight into the glass.
And we can also look at the physical structures mentioned in the notes, like the adjectives thick versus thin, and adverbs like slightly.
How does that connect to personality?
Well, if you have a reserved personality, someone who keeps their feelings private, you might develop a thick emotional exterior.
Oh, I see.
Almost like a shell to harden yourself against the world. But if you are highly sensitive, you might have a very thin skin.
Right. Things get through to you much more easily.
Exactly. Which is exactly why context matters so much in English.
Oh, definitely. It is the same reason your notes distinguish between a teacher and a professor.
Right. That is a classic confusion.
A teacher is a general educator, maybe guiding you through high school, but a professor is specifically someone teaching at a university level.
Like someone lecturing on biology in a university lab.
Exactly. The context changes the vocabulary.
Context changes the vocabulary, but the physical mechanics of your mouth change the pronunciation.
Oh boy, yes they do.
And looking at your notes, this group is conquering some serious phonetic challenges.
Just like getting the right temperature for a dish, right?
Exactly. Getting the right mouth shape is crucial. The notes focus on the ghosts of your past classes, starting with the difference between put and put.
Oh, as someone who remembers the struggle of learning these subtle vowel shifts, This pair is a massive trap.
It really is.
I mean, they look almost identical,
Yeah.
P-U-T and P-U-T-T.
They do look similar, but the mechanics are entirely different. Put the book down, uses a short U sound.
Okay, so how do I shape my mouth?
Your lips are slightly rounded, almost like you are about to whistle, and the sound is pushed from the middle of your mouth.
Right.
But put, like hitting a golf ball, uses a different sound. Your jaw actually drops a bit lower, your tongue rests flat, and the sound is short and sharp.
Put. Wow, I could literally feel my jaw dropping on the second one. Put. But.
Exactly.
But let us talk about the ultimate phonetic boss battle for Brazilian learners.
Oh, I know which one you are going to say.
The word world. W-O-R-L-D. It feels like your tongue is trying to tie itself into a knot.
It is an absolute workout for your mouth because it requires a complex transition between two challenging consonants.
So what is the practical tip here?
The trick is to stop trying to say it as one fluid word and break it in half. First, say were like we were.
Were.
Notice how your tongue is pulled back, tense in the middle of your mouth.
Okay, my tongue is pulled back. Were.
Now, transition to old. Old.
Old.
To make that L sound, your tongue has to release from the back and swing forward to tap right behind your top front teeth.
So you are physically moving from a retracted tongue to a forward tap.
Yes. We're old. World.
Ah, so the secret is the journey the tongue takes. We're old. World.
You got it.
It is a physical movement. And speaking of extra syllables, I see the notes also highlight the word languages.
Right. The trick here is not a complex consonant. It is that plural ending.
Exactly. A common mistake is to say language S, keeping a soft S.
But phonetically, it requires an is sound. Your vocal cords have to vibrate on that final consonant. Languages.
Languages. It acts almost like a tiny extra syllable that grounds the word.
It does. Now, the current class notes also dive into words that try to trick you visually.
Oh, the false similarities.
Yes, tricky vowels. We have mathematics, gymnastics, economics, and the duo of pint versus paint.
These are words where the spelling actively lies to you.
They really do.
Take mathematics. The trap is the TH. You have to physically put your tongue between your teeth to create that friction.
Can you give an example?
Sure. She studied mathematics at the university. If you keep your tongue behind your teeth, it becomes a T, which sounds completely wrong.
Right. And then there's gymnastics. The G tricks you into wanting a hard, guttural sound, like in gum.
Oh, right, because of the G.
But it is actually a soft J sound, created much closer to the front of the palate. The athlete won a gold medal in gymnastics.
That makes sense. And economics.
Similarly, economics forces a sharp E sound right at the front. He is reading a book about global economics.
But I think the absolute best example of English spelling playing a trick on you is pint versus paint.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean, they look like they should rhyme with mint or faint.
This is the ultimate false similarity. Let us look at pint. P-I-N-T.
Yeah.
Because it looks like mint or hint, your brain wants to use a short I sound. But historically, the vowel shifted, and it now demands a long I diphthong.
Pint.
Yes, you have to glide from an ah sound to an E sound. I would like a pint of milk. It could absolutely not be pronounced paint.
Right. And then paint, P-A-I-N-T, uses a completely different long vowel, the long A.
Exactly. She loves to paint landscapes.
So you have a pint of liquid and a bucket of paint.
Your mouth has to form an entirely different shape for each, despite them looking like cousins on paper.
You know, we have covered so much ground already. We're going to take a really quick commercial break right now.
But do not go anywhere, because we have romantic idioms and a literal dessert recipe waiting on the other side.
Stick around. We will be right back.
And we are back.
Welcome back, everyone. You know, speaking of tricky situations where things on paper do not match reality, it reminds me of a hilarious story.
Oh, I love your stories.
It perfectly tees up our next section on the use of language.
Yeah.
So there is this guy, a total hillbilly, living out in the country.
Okay.
Setting the scene.
He is trying to impress his family by cooking a fancy dinner, but he completely forgot the recipe.
Oh, no.
Instead of admitting it, he just throws everything in a pot and cranks up the heat. Naturally, he absolutely incinerates the food.
Black smoke billowing out of the kitchen, I imagine.
Exactly. His wife walks in, coughing, and asks what on earth happened. And instead of saying he messed up, he puffs up his chest and says, "I did it on purpose. I am inventing a new rustic delicacy."
Let me guess. She was not eager to try this new delicacy. Oh, she was terrified. Which brings us right to the practical phrases you studied this week.
A perfect transition. Let us do a quick recap before we jump in. So far, we have covered kitchen vocabulary mapped to personality traits and tackled tricky pronunciations like world and pint.
Yes, and now we're looking at the use of language phrases. The notes list, to be afraid, it sounds strange, on purpose meaning intentionally, hillbilly, and I forgot.
These phrases are incredibly useful because they handle everyday conflict and confusion.
Absolutely.
To be afraid is the fundamental expression of fear. It sounds strange is a wonderfully polite way to express that something seems highly unusual without calling someone a liar.
Like our friend's dinner?
Exactly. On purpose or intentionally indicates deliberate action. A hillbilly is an informal term for someone from a rural area, often implying a lack of sophistication. And I forgot is the universal admission of a memory lapse.
Let us actually put these into context. Let us do a quick role play.
Sounds fun.
I will be the proud, defensive cook who ruined dinner, and you be the skeptical friend.
I'm ready.
Listen, I know it sounds strange, but I burned the chicken on purpose. It is a new technique.
Are you serious? I'm starting to be afraid of your cooking. You're acting like some hillbilly who just discovered fire.
Hey, I forgot to set the timer. Okay. But the extra crunch is, well, intentionally added for texture.
That was great. It really is the perfect defensive toolkit.
Right. Notice how the phrases allow us to deflect blame and try to save face in a conversation.
Exactly. Now, from kitchen disasters, let us transition to undeniable chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
Your notes move into idiomatic expressions, specifically under the beautiful theme of love, live, and sentiments.
The curriculum outlines a romance between two characters, Sandra and Antonio, to teach 10 essential English idioms.
Idioms can be tough because they rely on physical metaphors to explain abstract feelings.
Right, like the first one, the love of my life.
Antonio calls Sandra this to signify she is the most important person he has ever met. But look at how Sandra's reaction is described.
The text says after only 3 months, she was head over heels in love with him.
Which is such a funny image. Head over heels. Aren't our heads normally over our heels?
They are. Historically, the phrase was actually heels over head, like doing a literal somersault.
Which makes much more sense.
Does, but over time, the English language flipped it. The idiom survives to mean being completely physically overwhelmed by love.
In Portuguese, your notes perfectly translate this feeling as well. It is that feeling of being completely lost in love.
I love that. And because they felt this way, everyone said they were a match made in heaven.
A beautiful phrase.
The idea here is that their compatibility is so perfect, it must have been designed by a higher power. And a big reason they are a match is that they get along so well.
To get along means to have a harmonious relationship without friction.
But it is interesting how the notes describe the beginning of the relationship.
Yes, Antonio didn't plan this. He didn't expect to fall for someone like Sandra.
Again, with the physical metaphors.
Yeah.
To fall for someone implies a loss of control.
Gravity just takes over.
Exactly. You don't decide to fall. It just happens.
Mm-hmm.
Which is slightly heavier than the next phrase, to have a crush on someone.
To have a crush implies a sudden, often temporary infatuation. It is that nervous, exciting energy you get.
Often when you're younger.
But when a relationship deepens, the stakes get higher, bringing us to the risk. You might break someone's heart.
And this is not just poetry. When someone experiences severe emotional grief, the body literally releases stress hormones that can temporarily weaken the heart muscle.
It physically hurts.
It really does. But Antonio and Sandra avoid that heartbreak because they learned to open up.
To open up is the antidote to heartbreak. It means removing that thick emotional armor we talked about earlier.
You share your personal thoughts and insecurities.
And by doing that, they were able to be there for someone.
Meaning they provided a stable foundation for each other during tough times. They supported each other.
And the root of all of this, they just had chemistry.
To have chemistry is perhaps the most scientific idiom here.
It refers to that intangible spark, a mix of dopamine and oxytocin that makes two people naturally click. You are drawn to each other effortlessly.
Speaking of a perfect chemical reaction, let us talk about the marriage of cold custard and hot caramel.
Yes. We are moving to the reading section of your notes. LARC 107.
All about creme brulee.
The reading is a sensory delight. It opens by asking, would you ever burn your food on purpose?
It is a clever nod to our vocabulary lesson because, in French, Crème brûlée literally translates to burnt cream.
And the chemistry of this dessert is what makes it a masterpiece.
It really is. You mix heavy cream, sugar, and egg yolks, and slowly heat them to create a rich, thick custard.
Maybe you steep some vanilla bean or orange zest into it?
Then you pour it into ramekins and let it cool off and harden slightly in the fridge.
But the real magic happens at the very end. You pour a thin layer of sugar over the chilled custard and apply intense heat.
Sugar breaks down, caramelizing into hundreds of new complex flavor compounds,
forming a hard, glass-like crust over the cold cream beneath.
Now, your reading mentions 2 ways to create that crunchy caramel roof, and I have to say, the modern method is the only way.
Oh, here we go.
Using a handheld gas torch, it is thrilling. You get to wield a concentrated flame, melting the sugar in seconds. It brings a sense of theatrical danger to the kitchen.
I must firmly disagree with you there.
Really?
Yes. The traditional method, placing the ramekins under the blazing hot broiler of your oven, is the authentic culinary approach.
But the torch is so much fun.
It provides a wide, even blanket of heat. Furthermore, your reading text explicitly includes a warning.
I know.
It says, be very careful if you decide to make creme brulee this way. That is specifically referring to the volatile nature of the gas torch. The oven broiler is reliable and controlled.
Where's the romance in that? A little danger makes the sweet custard taste even better. Plus, you can see the sugar bubbling and transforming right before your eyes with a torch.
I will stick to the broiler. I prefer my caramelization without the risk of singeing my eyebrows.
Fair enough. But you know what is not a risk? The incredible progress of Group T262.
Oh, absolutely. Looking at the class stats, your performance is nothing short of spectacular.
The analytics are genuinely impressive. In this class alone, you achieved a vocabulary growth of 25 new words.
Expanding your comprehensive lexicon repertoire to 78 words.
You logged 50 solid minutes of oral fluency and speech engagement.
And dedicated a massive 2 hours and 33 minutes of listening wavelength. That is the kind of immersion that rewires the brain.
But the crowning achievement in these stats is the phonetic deviation ratio.
Yes, this is amazing.
It is currently sitting at 0%. 0.
Think about how difficult it is to conquer words like world and pint. Achieving 0 phonetic deviation means your muscle memory is successfully adapting to the physical demands of English.
It is absolute proof that you are firmly on the path to reaching your CEFRL B1 level. You are putting in the work, and the results are undeniable.
And remember, for a quick grammar overview and to solidify what we have discussed today, your bibliographic references are ready for you.
Yes, you can dive deeper into the grammar and reading through the kids' platform quizzes, specifically link LARC 107.
The resources are meticulously curated for you, and that dedication sets you up perfectly for the upcoming linguistic scope.
The next class is going to expand your toolkit significantly. It is a packed and exciting agenda.
You will be tackling the nuances of existence by learning there is versus there are, and their past tense forms there was versus there were.
We will also return to the psychology of language, exploring both positive and negative personality traits.
You will learn how to talk about past habits with the phrase used to.
How to measure distance and time by distinguishing between how far and how long.
And finally, how to navigate the world by giving and asking for directions.
Imagine the complex ideas you will be able to express. Sentences like, there's a beautiful bakery nearby where I used to go.
Or how long does it take and how far is it to the university?
But the most exciting part of the upcoming notes is the cliffhanger for the next reading text.
The title is simply, What is your eating choice? Nutritious or delicious food?
That is the ultimate human dilemma, isn't it?
It really is. Do we eat strictly to fuel our biology, or do we eat for the pure sensory joy of a burnt sugar crust? It is going to spark a fantastic debate.
I am already looking forward to it. But before we wrap up, it is time for the gamification interval.
We know how hard you work, and the Academia BSB gamification system is built to celebrate that.
Exactly. Every activity you complete, whether in class, outside of class, or as homework, earns you points or stars.
These are attached to your user profile on the online platform, allowing you to climb the leaderboard, reach the podium, and compete for actual prizes.
It gamifies the grind of language learning. So let us bring some massive sports announcer energy to today's scoreboard.
Let's do it.
Looking at the platform right now, the stars earned today section is flashing. 18 stars.
Yeah.
Yes. What a phenomenal haul.
A massive congratulations, and we have to highlight some specific heroics from the platform data.
Look.
Alan, you faced a -1 penalty on a quiz, but your resilience was incredible. You bounced right back and went on a massive run, locking in multiple 4-star streaks.
That is how you respond to a setback. An absolute masterclass in coming back, Alan.
And Sandra, you are just quietly dominating the leaderboard, racking up those back-to-back 4-star rewards. You are a machine.
And a special shout out to teacher Marcelo, who secured a 5-star bonus just for producing such engaging, top-tier content.
Congratulations to all of you. Keep accumulating those stars. Every star is a testament to your consistency.
It represents a moment you chose to try, to speak, and to engage.
And as we bring this deep dive to a close, we want to honor the creator behind these fantastic class notes, Teacher Rachel.
Yes, she loves a good literary daily affirmation, so we are skipping the traditional textbook quotes today to lean into that feminine, powerful energy.
It feels incredibly fitting to turn to the legendary author and poet, Maya Angelou.
A brilliant choice.
In her groundbreaking 1969 autobiography, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, a book that profoundly explores identity, resilience, and the power of finding your own voice, she wrote something beautiful.
What did she write?
She wrote, "You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated."
Wow. That is the perfect mindset for learning English.
It really is.
Whether you're struggling to make your tongue pronounce the word world, wrestling with the spelling of pint, or you accidentally burn the cream in the kitchen, making mistakes is exactly how the most beautiful transformations happen.
Do not be afraid of the fire. That is where the caramel is made.
A wonderful reminder to embrace the process. Thank you all for spending your time with us. Keep practicing, keep opening up, and keep thriving.
And as always, let us deliver the apodiotic Academia BSB motto together, loud and proud. 1, 2, 3.
It's not only about the language, it's all about communication.
Beautifully said.
But let me leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Okay, I am listening.
If a straightforward person is diligent and a reserved person is quiet, what kind of personality trait does it actually take to intentionally burn your dessert just to see if it tastes better?
Now that is a great question.
Keep experimenting, everyone. See you next time.